Hello, Namaskar, this is Sudeep here. Welcome back once again to my channel where we talk about AI in a very simple language. आज के वीडियो में we will talk about RAG. RAG का मतलब है Retrieval-Augmented Generation. If you don't understand it right now, don't worry. मैं आपको बहुत आसान शब्दों में आज ये explain करने वाला हूँ along with some real life examples. So after you watch this video fully, you should be able to go back and explain this in a very simple language even to your grandmother. So let's get started. But before we get started, I just wanted to ask you one question. And that is, have you faced any situation where someone has asked you a question and you didn't have an immediate answer? क्योंकि ऐसा होता है कि कोई कबार मतलब कोई हमको कोई क्वेश्चन कर लेता है बट वी कैनॉट रिकलेक्ट द आंसर इमीडिएटली और वी डू नॉट नो द आंसर इमीडिएटली इन आवर माइंड्स. सो इन दैट केस व्हाट डू वी गो बैक टू डिफरेंट सोर्सेस टू गेट दैट इंफॉर्मेशन. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हम लोग कभी जाके गूगल सर्च कर लेते हैं, कभी जाके कोई लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ाई कर लेते हैं, या फिर किसी से बात करके हम उसका इंफॉर्मेशन निकालने की कोशिश करते हैं. तो ये हम लोग करते हैं एंड विद द आंसर देन वी गो बैक टू दैट पर्सन. Right? So this is a normal case and it happens every day with all of us in our real life. So RAG is something similar to this. We'll see how this works for LLMs or AI models, right? As you would know, AI models are designed to mimic in the way people think logically, right? So RAG also brings in that kind of a flavor into an AI model. So as you watch this video, the concept will become very clear for you. So let's jump into my computer screen and get started. But before that, one last request from my side is that please do subscribe to this channel and also please do like, share and comment on this video so that I get motivation to bring in such videos for you on a weekly basis so that you also get to know about the inner workings of AI. So without wasting any more time, चलिए शुरू करते हैं.
It's all about AI.
Okay, so let's start by knowing what is RAG. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. Okay, so now let's see how this works. Let me draw two boxes. Let's consider, excuse my drawing. So these two boxes, let's assume these are two systems. This one is the augmented generator. Okay, and this is the retrieval system. Okay, let's assume, or let's say that these two systems are interconnected. Okay, now you as a user can ask questions to it, to this augmented generator, on specific topics of your choosing. Okay, so once you ask this question to this augmented generator, it will have some idea about the answer. Okay, but it is not sure about the specific answer that it needs to provide, or the exact answer it needs to provide back to you. So what it does is that it sends that question to get the exact answer from this retrieval system. So let's consider this retrieval system as an expert on the topic on which you have asked the question. Okay, so the retrieval system gives back the exact answer to the augmented generator. Okay, now the augmented generator gets that answer and it augments its overall idea that it has about the question, and embeds that answer that it has got from the retrieval system and responds back to you with an exact answer. Okay, exact answer. So this is how, if now this entire model of working, right, you can call it as RAG system. Okay, So this is not exactly a answering machine or an answering assistant you can call off. It is kind of a system where you can get exact answers or a valid answer or a best possible answer by referring to a retrieval system which is an expert on the topic on which you have asked the question. Okay, so this is on an overall how the RAG architecture works. We will see with real life examples shortly as to how this works. So now let's try to understand this through a real life scenario. Let's say this is you. Okay, this is you and this is your teacher, let's say. Okay, so your teacher asks you a question saying that who invented the telephone. So you have read about it in some earlier class, but you have now forgotten, but you have a vague idea that it is somewhere, someone American, somewhere in the 1700s, but you forgot the name. Okay, so in that case, what you can do is that you can go to a, let's say, a library. Okay, okay, so this is the library. Okay, you go here and in library you get some books. Okay, you get some books and you study those books, and and you get the information and you come back with an answer. Okay, with you, then you format that answer saying that this is the gentleman, let's say it's Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone in the year 17 something, and he was an American, and you format an answer in a particular way and you give the answer back to the teacher. Okay, so you give the answer back to the teacher. So in this system you are the augmented generator, let's call it AG. Okay, and this library and the books is the retrieval system, let's call it R. Okay, so this is the entire architecture or the RAG architecture that a human being generally follows when he is not sure what the answer to a particular question is. Now in place of library you can Google, you can ask ChatGPT, and all those things is also possible. Okay, so in real life we, most of the time when we are not sure about an answer, we follow this RAG model without knowing about it. So this is exactly the structure that has been implemented in the AI models, which we call as the RAG model. Okay, so now let's look at actually how it works, and let's figure out in the case of a office scenario. Okay, now let's try to replicate the same architecture in an office scenario. Let's say this is you. Okay, okay, so you are an employee, you want to know your company's leave policy. Okay, how many leaves you can take and that sort of a thing. So what the company has done is that it has given you access to a, let's say, a chatbot. Okay, chatbot. Okay, so behind this chatbot it runs an AI system or an LLM which intelligently gives the answers back to you for any kind of question it may, you may ask it. Okay, so it's just, the chatbot is just a front end or an interface that the company has given you for any questions the employees might have. They can ask this chatbot and the chatbot can talk to an LLM system, and LLM will provide a response which the chatbot will give the employee back or you back. Okay, now you want to know the leave policy. The chatbot, you send that question to the chatbot and the chatbot asks the LLM, asks the LLM. The LLM has an overall idea about the leave policy from different companies across the world, because then LLM is trained with a lot of data from different sectors, different places, and all that. So it has an overall idea. But what you want to know in this case is a specific leave policy related question, like how many leaves you can take in an year. Okay, so it is not expected that the LLM will know that answer. Okay, so in that case, if we give our LLM access to your company leave policy document, okay, policy document, policy document, or maybe a database where all your company related things are stored, policy related things are stored, it can very well check with that document or the database and get that answer. Once it gets the answer, it formulates that answer or structures that answer in a proper way, passes this onto the chatbot, and you get your answer back that you can take 12 leaves in an year. Okay, so essentially what happens is that to any LLM, right? If you give access to your policy documents, company documents, database of all the important information, the LLM, through its mechanism, can actually pull that information and formulate that answer for you, and it can give it back to you through a chatbot or any other interface here that you might want to design or the IT department might have designed for you to access. तो ऐसे करके हम लोग अपना queries का आंसर हमको मिल सकता है with specific details if an LLM has an access to the policy details, documents, database, whatever it might be. And it happens so fast electronically so that it is not very transparent to us. Okay, so this is how the RAG architecture or the RAG model can work in a company scenario. Now let's look at another real life example. Let's say you have gone to a restaurant and you are sitting at a table, okay, and the waiter comes to you and he gives you a menu card. Okay, the menu card has many items in it, and now you want to know the details of this menu. Okay, like what it is made of, किससे बना है, कैसे बना है, क्या क्या ingredients रहेगा, कितना pieces रहेगा, ये सब आप जानना चाहते हो, right? But the waiter has little bit of idea about your the answer to these questions, but he doesn't have an entire idea as to how this is prepared, what kind of medium is being used, and then what ingredients exactly goes in what portions and all that. Okay, so what he will do, he will go to the chef, right, to understand what is the ingredients, how it is prepared, what medium and all that. The chef gives him the answer and he passes that answer then back to you. Sounds familiar or similar to a real life case? Now here is a question for you. In this entire system, which is the retrieval system and which is the augmented generation system? Can you just answer these two questions and let me know in the comments below? I will check all of them and respond to people who answer correctly. Okay, and people who do not get the answer, I will advise them to watch the video once again from the beginning. Okay, so this is another real life example. So what are the benefits of RAG? Number one, it gives you up-to-date information. Up-to-date information. Because what happens during training of LLMs is that it is trained on data from various sources and a lot of sources, but the data keeps on changing, like the latest news, articles, information and all that, right? It keeps on updating. So it is not always possible that the LLM will have the latest data. So in that case, a RAG kind of architecture helps the LLM to give you the up-to-date information. Okay, number two is it can give you accurate information. Okay, it can give you accurate because it is referring to a retrieval system most of the times which has accurate information, like in the case of the leave policy or the number of leaves your company is going to give you yearly in the example we saw earlier. That is the most accurate information coming out of the company document or the company policy document or company database on which you can rely on, and it's a very good source to get the ready-made information which is the most accurate one. Okay, number three is custom data. What do I mean by this? By this, I mean that in a RAG architecture, you can feed or give the LLM model access to custom data in the sense that whatever topic you want to discuss with the LLM about, आप उसको that data you can give access to that data to the LLM. Okay, आप LLM को access दे सकते हैं and it can read from that data, that custom data, and give you answers based on your question. Okay, so these are the three essential benefits of using a RAG architecture.
So let's quickly summarize as to what we learned today. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. क्या होता है कि हम लोग अगर LLM को जाके या फिर कोई AI मॉडल को जाके if we ask some questions and if it does not know the answer, you can actually help it by giving it certain details about those answers so that it can frame the answer and give it back to us. तो ये कैसे काम करता है? So it retrieves. So that is where the retrieval part of RAG comes in. Retrieve the answers from the documents or data source that you have given it. Then comes augmented. It augments its answers with the details it gets from the reference source or the documents that you have given it. And then comes the generation part. Then it generates the answer and gives it back to you. So that is what stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. Retrieve करो, augment करो, फिर उसको generate करके यूजर जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है उसका आंसर दो. So that is what is RAG. तो हम लोग आज के वीडियो में ये कैसे काम करता है and what does Retrieval Augmented Generation means, we learned that. Hopefully you now have a solid understanding about RAG. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Let me know in the comments below how did you like the explanation and what other topics you want me to cover in my next videos. So with that, I will close this video. But before I do, I would request you to give it a thumbs up if you like this video and also do subscribe to my channel for similar videos in future. So until my next video, take care, be curious and be always informed.